session, we will begin momentarily.
Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a few moments here. Okay, so it's 5 after, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to hand it right over to Thalita from the Alumni Club.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this session with us. My name is Thalita, along with Alexia Reddy and Catherine Zhao. I lead our alumni network Engage Philanthropy effort. Essentially, our effort is to bring opportunities to our alumni community to engage using our skills to engage and help our local community. So we are looking to bring many opportunities to you, and today we will be present with MIT Solve and opportunities for you to engage with MIT Solve. So I'm going to hand it over to Eliza.
Great, thank you. So just to give you a brief picture of where we're going today, we're going to have an overview of Solve from our Executive Director, Alex Moyel. We will then be hearing from one of our Solver teams, One Sky, and that's Anna. We'll have some opportunities for Q&A, so please do feel free at that time to use the Q&A feature. And then we'll be talking a little bit about how to get involved with Solve and have some more time for Q&A. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Alex, our Executive Director.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this MIT Alumni Club Northern California meetup, and welcome. Happy that you're here virtually to find a little bit more about MIT Solve. I'm Alex Moyel. I'm the Executive Director. I've been with MIT for just over 3.5 years now, leading this initiative. Next slide, please. Solve was started as an initiative of the Office of the President, Raphael Reif, and really it's inscribed itself into MIT's mission to solve world challenges. And this is a quote from Raphael, and really this takes the vision of MIT to be a place that serves the nation and the world in the 21st century, and I'm quoting MIT's mission here, to a level of open innovation and social and environmental impact. Next slide, please. So what is Solve? It's a marketplace for social impact innovation. And our mission is to solve world challenges. We do that by launching open innovation challenges, and we find incredible solver teams. That's what we call the social entrepreneurs we select. And then we connect these solver teams with a rich ecosystem and a community of members and partners, both to provide funding and non-financial support to these solver teams. Next slide, please. This is a diagram, and hopefully you all like diagrams, of our innovation cycle. So how we source entrepreneurs from all around the world. And we've got several thousand applications through our global challenges every year. How we design the challenges and then also allow people to vote on the solutions. How we select the most promising solutions through a series of review stage, selection stage, technical vetting, and more. And so far we've selected 130 solver teams from 36 countries. And then in a sense, the most important part of this marketplace is to broker partnerships between these innovators and this community of members. And so far, since in the last 3.5 years, we've brokered over $20 million of funding commitments and through 175 partnerships for solver teams. And we count a partnership anything which is between a solver team and a member, or a solver team and a partner, and that is valued at $10,000 or more. Next slide. So these are current challenges that we launched in February or March. Usually we launch 4 challenges a year, one on health, one on learning, one on economic prosperity, and one on sustainability. And as this sort of result of this pandemic and in response to COVID-19, we decided exceptionally to launch a 5th challenge around health security and pandemics. These challenges are open to anyone, anywhere. You can be a nonprofit, a for-profit, an academic project, which is not even registered as something formally an individual. We're not looking for concept or business plan ideas. We're looking for ideas, solutions that are in fact at the very minimum in a working tested prototype phase, but ideally in real pilot or early growth phases, which are showing traction and the potential for real scale. They're open until, all of these challenges are open until June 18th. As of now, there's over $1.5 million of prize funding available for these challenges, and we're expecting well over 1,000 applications, if not, over 1,500 applications for these challenges. And we very much encourage, there might be yourselves or definitely people who could be fantastic solutions that could benefit from our program. Next slide, please. So we wanted to conduct a quick poll, which should be appearing on your screen right now through the magic of Zoom, to get some of your feedback on which challenges are you most interested in at the moment. So, and I don't know if I see the poll, by the way, so. Eliza, are people seeing the poll and responding?
So hopefully we're able to launch that in just a moment.
No poll. Thank you, Dan. Let's try and fix that. I see a poll. Oh, and it says I can't vote, which is good.
Great, so we'll give that a few moments for people to start filling out which challenge they're most interested in.
One thing to know about these challenges while we're waiting for the result is we have adapted all of them to take into account the current pandemic crisis, notably sort of good jobs and inclusive entrepreneurship, the first version of the challenge, and it's still sort of still very much that, was written to think about good jobs and entrepreneurship in the context of the technological transformations of work, automation, AI, and other things which are fundamentally changing the nature of work. And as a result of the crisis, we sort of added another dimension, which is obviously the crisis and how that impacts good jobs and entrepreneurship. So all of them are now have, we haven't fundamentally changed them, but they're all taking that into account in their positioning. Okay, so the results. So a lot of you care about good jobs and inclusive entrepreneurships, and a number of you care about the other ones, except maternal and newborn health seems to be orphaned, but let's not tell Pooja. And then I'm surprised in that sense that not many of you care all that much about the health security and pandemics challenge. Perhaps that's because we are getting over indexed on that and over scintillated on that. Thank you. So next slide, please. This one. So this is just an overview of our current portfolio. This doesn't take into account these new challenges because they're currently open for application. So 130 solver teams from 36 countries. The majority of them are for-profit, social entrepreneurs, with still a good amount of nonprofits and hybrids. Most of them are in the pilot and growth phase, and a small, it's balanced, or a very small majority are women-led. Next slide, please. These are some examples of our solver teams from across the world and across the different topics. Air Inc. It is an MIT alumni. For example, we get a number of MIT alumni or MIT students or faculty who apply, and a good number who are selected, although it's open to absolutely everyone anywhere, and the majority don't have a prior MIT affiliation. DOST Education, which you see in the bottom left-hand corner, is one that, for example, is very much, given the type of technology that they're providing, is very much sort of taking sort of apropos and is sort of very relevant to this current environment as they support parents at home for early learning. Next slide. And then we have not that it sort of matters the locality, but I think in future you'll be happy to meet Anna in person. We have a solver team with us today, One Sky for All Children, that is going to give you a little bit of a presentation on what they do and how we can support them. And after that, we'll be opening this up fully for Q&A, and you'll be able to ask me any questions about overall Solve and how it fits into MIT, but then especially Anna and her project.
Hi everyone, Anna with One Sky, and we are grateful to be the 2019 winner of one of the winners of the early childhood education cohort of the 2019 Solve Awards. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about One Sky, and then tell you more about the project that we won the award for last year. So this is a picture of the kids in one of the orphanages in China where our programs started back in 1998. The organization was started by a woman called Jenny Bowen here in Berkeley, California. And a few years before starting the organization, Jenny and her husband adopted a little girl from a Chinese orphanage. And back then, the orphanages in China were receiving a lot of attention on the media because of the one-child law, and also because there was a documentary released called The Dying Rooms, and that portrayed dire conditions in the orphanages, and that caused a global uproar. So Jenny's daughter arrived traumatized and emotionally shut down, but after some time being in the supportive and loving environment, she was transformed, and Jenny was then inspired to give that to all the orphans in China, and that's how One Sky was founded. So next slide, please. And I just included a few pictures from our programs. So One Sky trains women in best practices of early childhood education. And our programs spread all over China and are now implemented in close partnerships with the government. So in some cases, they actually pay us to train the orphanage workers. And it's now the standard of care in orphanages. And in 2017, we started our work in Vietnam, and just recently we started a new project in Mongolia. So next slide, please. So our caregiver training program in Vietnam, it was the project that won the Solve Award last year. And to give you a little bit of a background of the challenge, there's a lot of economically driven migration that's happening across Vietnam as it's becoming the new center for manufacturing and production. There's a lot of clothes that is manufactured there, like Gap, Lululemon, brands that I'm sure you guys see and probably wear every day are made there. So a lot of these migrants are women because they prefer women workers because they are they think they're better with delicate work, and also they're more reliable. So these women migrate, and when they migrate, they often have young children, and they're leaving support. So they're leaving grandparents, neighbors, family, extended family who would normally take care of their children. And the next slide, please. So many of them cannot access childcare because they either don't have residency status, there's no childcare available because it's overcrowded or it's just too expensive. So an alternative industry emerged that's also often implemented by migrant women who are trying to make an income, and they're running daycares out of their homes. And they're a lot cheaper than public daycare, but also many of these women don't have the training to provide the early childhood experiences, that early learning experiences to the children. So that's where we come in. So our program, next slide please, trains these women in best practices of early childhood education. It's an 11-month program, and it consists of 20 classroom sessions. In between the classroom sessions, the trainer goes to the kindergarten, to the site, and they support the caregiver by observing, watching, or helping with answering questions, so really hands-on. And then we have an online learning platform. And the vision for that platform is that after the training, these women can remain engaged with One Sky and with each other, because they're isolated. They're not a part of the formal workforce. So it serves sort of as a community, a place where they can communicate with each other, where they can ask questions of our early childhood specialists, or browse on the most recent events and news and information. So as you can imagine, that platform became key for us in the light of recent events. Next slide, please. So on January 18th in Vietnam, all kindergartens, daycares, and schools closed. So since then, the children had to stay at home. And for the population that we're serving, which are families of migrant workers, that's especially challenging because many of them cannot afford to stop working to care for the children. So some of them continue to work. They leave children with their grandparents or neighbors, or some of them are left home by themselves. Others are working reduced schedules because factories have also slowed down, and many of them can't support the learning of their children. Our trainees are also affected. The daycares are closed, so they have no income, and some are looking for work, and some are returning to their rural communities, and many are in distress. For our organization, the challenges are financial because we're doing okay right now, but a big chunk of our revenues come from individual donors, and we think that's going to affect us this year. And we're also worried about attrition in our programs because the trainees are leaving, the daycares are closing, and all of we were doing an external evaluation study, so that has stopped, and all of our face-to-face programming has stopped. So what we're doing right now to support our staff and to support the women that we're training, everything's done online or through social media or through phone or Skype. What I forgot to mention, we're also running a model kindergarten that serves as a demonstration center in Vietnam. So those are the two parts of our program. So the parents and the families who are part of that kindergarten are in constant communication with the teachers. So the teachers are producing short videos on how to prevent the children from getting sick, how to, for example, how to wash your hands, how to put on masks, how to make homemade toys, how to do simple activities with the children that are fun and can be done without much equipment or toys. And the videos are especially critical because a lot of the parents are illiterate, and a lot of them don't have TVs or computers, so they have no access to the news. They are not receiving the information that regularly, like we can just Google stuff and say, oh, we're not supposed to touch things or cough on people. So, and the same for our trainees. And really the online, our online platform became kind of not just a place for sharing the information like that, but a platform for pulling the community together and offering emotional support to each other. So, and we're committed to keep all of our staff employed. We have not laid off anyone, and there's no plans that I know of for that to happen. Which is helpful, I think, to the local economy because all of the women that we employed are local women from the community. So on the organizational level, we're looking at our budgets, we're cutting on essential expenses. We did some emergency fundraising to help provide masks and other preventative gear to our orphanages and to our other programs, and also doing some creative fundraising to make up for the revenue that's going to be lost through events. So we usually have a gala and a hike and some other little events that are not going to happen this year. So next slide, please. That's just a photo that we did an online homemade toy competition for our trainees, and you can see this woman. She was the winner. So that's the kind of stuff that you can make from just paper, from yogurt containers and water bottles and glue and other things. So that's probably a favorite activity of the providers, and also for parents who don't have a lot of money to buy toys for the children. Okay, next slide, please. So opportunities to get involved right now, they're all revolve around fundraising and creative ideas to help us reach new networks. Even though we've been in the Bay Area since 1998, we have not really developed community here for One Sky. So most of our funders are global brands, big foundations, or they're based in Asia. So some of you are working for companies that might have a corporate social responsibility program that aligns with the work that we're doing. Others might have employee giving campaign. Some of you might work for media or other communication companies. Also, we're always looking for collaborations with other NGOs that are doing similar work. And some of you might have ideas of how we could diversify our income during this time of crisis for the global community, and maybe you have some creative ideas for fundraising. So I think that's all for me.
Great, thanks so much, Anna. So we're going to take a little time here for Q&A. So folks can use the Q&A feature. For some reason, I'm not able to access, but if questions come up, I believe Serena or maybe even Alex would be able to see some of those questions come in. So please do, any questions for Alex or Anna about the work of Solve or about One Sky. Love to hear them. And comments too, I should mention, if folks want to submit anything.
I guess Serena or somebody else, how are people, I'm not seeing any questions. Are people putting them in the chat, or is there another feature for people to?
There's a Q&A, and I can read a question that just came in.
Oh, I think I get, yes. I'm seeing the Q&A now. Thank you. So the question is, are these programs in place in cities in the US? Okay, so this is for Anna.
Our programs are primarily in Asia, but there's lots of other organizations in the US that have similar missions. Like I know Save the Children is one, Head Start is another. But yeah, we're working in Asia, but our methodology is based on the research of a Harvard Center for Developing Child. So it came from the US.
Any other questions? Anything else? Sorry, I put myself on. Oh, there is from Alex again, and I think also for you, Anna. Why did you go through the Solve process?
We just thought it was a really great opportunity for us to get feedback and get connected with the Solve community. At that time, our program is fairly new, so we wanted to get advice at the time on our online learning platform and receive some technical support, which we did also through Harvard Center for Developing Child. And we also got a lot of exposure at the Solve event to not only to similar organizations that we've got ideas from, but also to funders. We also got some exposure through online publications, and Solve is just such a great and interesting event. It was a great experience for our organizations and for me personally. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Great. So maybe, I don't know if there's one more Q&A that just came through, or.
That was just yes, thanks. If there's no other questions, Eliza, we'll move on to you, and there's another opportunity to ask questions at the end as well.
Sure. All right. So me and my colleague Mita, who is fairly new to the team, who does a lot with our engagement with the university community, and then also with the MIT community, including alumni, wanted to just talk a little bit more about how you all can engage with Solve. So mentorship is something that we've been discussing with the club quite frequently, as this is a great opportunity to engage you in the good work of our solver teams, who often can use the support of a sort of consistent mentorship throughout their work, throughout the program, the 9-month program, starting each September and then through May of each year. So the way that we do this is we will match mentors with solver teams based on their expertise, based on their preference of geography, based on the challenge. So for example, early childhood development, obviously a very clear focus area, but we have, as Alex mentioned, a lot of other focus areas that folks are interested in. So we do this matching every November after we've sort of gone through a pretty in-depth needs analysis with the solver teams. So we can say, for example, we know that One Sky really wanted some support around their technological component and thinking about scaling up their online platform to be able to reach more caregivers with their trainings. So that time commitment that we ask of mentors is to have it at least 2 hours per month. And just an example here from one of our Solver alumni and a Solve mentor that really had a great relationship, and they actually ended up meeting, I think, more like once per week. And from the outset decided they really wanted to work on this company's sort of brand and marketing efforts. And so as you can see from the highlights here, that Ram, who's the leader of the organization, really appreciated having the time to sort of step back and work with a mentor on this. And then the mentor found it really interesting to get engaged in their work and to be able to provide some strategic advice based on their experience. So we welcome any of you who are interested in mentorship. Please do feel free to reach out after this. Another option is to actually review solutions that are coming into our 2020 global challenges. So similar to mentorship, we'll be matching reviewers based on their interests. So if you're interested in the good jobs and inclusive entrepreneurship, which I know many of you were, we would encourage you to sign up to review applications. And so that review period will be from July 3rd through the 13th. And the time commitment is about 2 to 3 hours. So it's not too time intensive, and you get a real exciting look at some of our applications that are coming through our open innovation platform. And now I'm going to hand it over to Juanita, who's going to talk a little bit about workshops and membership.
The next opportunity that we have are what we call solve-a-thon workshops. And these are essentially the opportunities that are, gatherings of 50 to 80 people who come together and form sub-teams. And throughout the course of the solve-a-thon workshop, which can be anywhere between 3 to 6 hours, the participants go through human-centered design thinking processes. They go through stages of ideation and coming up with different ideas. And then by the end of the solve-a-thon workshop, they have what looks like a solution that could be submitted for global challenges. We generally run this between March and June every year, sort of in preparation for the global challenges. And there are opportunities to host these. Either the MIT Club or Northern California can host this, but you can also, within your own individual organizations, talk and discuss about potentially hosting a solve-a-thon workshop. And we both have opportunities to give people a toolkit so that they can run the solve-a-thon themselves, or we can bring Solve staff to run these solve-a-thon workshops. And then the last opportunity is membership. And the idea of memberships are, they're designed to be donations to Solve that the money goes directly to funding the solver teams. And these donations allow or give what we call members a variety of opportunities of being part of the network, and all of the wonderful things of supporting the solvers, having input on the design of the global challenges, getting to know all the different solver teams. Members are invited to attend Solve at MIT, which this year is happening on May 12th, and also the Solve Challenge Finals, where we select our sort of winning solver teams. Membership can happen in different ways. You can become a member as an individual, and we do have sort of a prorated membership for MIT alumni specifically, but you can also talk to your organizations where you work and have them become members as well. So now we're going to launch a second poll just to get a sense of how you all are interested in getting involved. I think that should be up now. Oh, and one thing I will say is that, of course, right now we are running our solve-a-thons virtually because of the constraints that we have, but we are piloting those and are very excited about virtual solve-a-thons.
Right, so we'll give a few moments for folks to fill out the poll, and then we'll share out the results.
And then there's, as mentioned, opportunities for more questions. So do start thinking about some questions as well.
So last call for the poll. We're going to close it in just a moment. So please do fill that out if you have not already, and then we'll close it in a moment. Okay. Great. So it looks like we have some interest in reviewing applications, mentorship, hosting a virtual solve-a-thon, and then some of you are interested in submitting your own solution, which is very exciting. Great interest across the board, and we welcome your engagement in all of those areas. And we'll put up our contact information on the last slide, but just wanted to give another opportunity based on some of those engagement options, but also could be back to One Sky or more generally about Solve. If anyone has any questions for us. And we're used to being very interactive in the way that we do workshops. So this is a little different for us on the Solve side to not be able to hear from you too. But okay, looks like there's something in the Q&A.
How has the lockdown affected your plans and schedule? So at least for Solve, I don't know if this is a question for Solve or for One Sky. For Solve at least, Solve, okay, thank you. For Solve at least, obviously there's two main things, I would say. The first is that usually we have a big in-person event on the MIT campus, Solve at MIT, which is our flagship event. And we were planning to have a 3-day in-person event, which was on May 12th to 14th. That has now become a virtual event on May 12th, where we're still expecting to register 500 to 700 people around that event, and really to focus on interactive workshops, although they are virtual, with our Solver teams such as Anna, but also to really discuss the new challenges and to really create coalitions around this with our funders and partners and members. There was a slide which sort of showed the sort of 120 or so organizations that are part of Solve. And then secondarily, launching this health security and pandemics challenge, which, while it's sort of in response to the coronavirus crisis, it's really looking at both near-term solutions around protecting healthcare workers, tracking, and sort of many of these near-term solutions, but also looking at longer-term solutions around affordable primary healthcare systems, disease surveillance systems, and healthcare supply chains. And that could be applicable, hopefully really to avoid future outbreaks becoming epidemics and then pandemics. And that was a question that we'd already thought about health security as a potential topic, but we had never launched it. And so we launched this in a sense as a rapid response challenge in response to this crisis. But broadly, a lot of the work that we do, the way that people apply, a lot of the judging, a lot of the things that we do are in fact already done online through our open innovation platform. We have about 120,000 people who are part of that platform. So a lot of things didn't have to change in a sense because we're already quite virtual. But thank you for asking. Any other questions about to myself, to Eliza and Juanita, or to Anna? Yes, the contact info. Well, I think if this is the last question, we definitely share the last slide, which is how to stay in touch with us. So if you have any further questions, and or we're very much hoping that those who said they were interested in mentoring and or reviewing solutions and or submitting their own applications will be in touch. So there's a lot of emails and social media, but then there are Eliza and Juanita's email address, and my email address is in the same format as these email addresses.
And there was, Alex, I don't know if you want one last question, but there was a question around what project are you most proud of? difficult question for us at Solve because we're involved in
Really?
so many projects.
It is, we do not have the favorite children, you know, and they're not children by any means, but we can't say that we have any favorite projects. I think what is really interesting, obviously you heard from Anna, and that's sort of one project, obviously in the early childhood space and sort of across East Asia. I think what is always fascinating and amazing for me is to see the diversity and breadth of the solution when we launch any challenge. So for example, if we think about, we had a challenge on circular economy, so that was on the sustainability pillar, and you know, it ranges from the one that we described, who's an MIT alum who's developing from pollution, can essentially extract this from the atmosphere to create new inks. So very technical, sort of chemical process heavy challenge, to somebody actually also from the Bay Area, Miranda Wang, with a company called Bioselection, who looks at taking plastics that are previously, and most of which are currently not being recycled, but her process can now really help to recycle these plastics into, in fact, higher value plastics for resale. But then also looking at somebody in New York, which called Queen of Raw, Stephanie, which looks at a marketplace for unused fabric, because textiles being, I think, the number 2 contributor or number 3 contributor to climate change. And in fact, while post-consumer waste is a real problem, post-industrial waste is even more so. And so the ability to reuse discarded fabric at the industrial level becomes really important. And that's sort of approaching a similar problem on how do you reuse, reduce, and recycle, which was what the circular economy is looking about. You have lots of different answers and promising solutions to the same question all around the world, and who using very different types of technology and different business models to address that. So that's, I think, what I'm always really interested and fascinated by.
Great. So unless there are any other questions that came through, I don't think there are, please do feel free to reach out to us. And Alex is describing some of our sustainability work. Of course, we have work around health and learning and economic prosperity as well. So please do take a look at our website, take a look at the diverse teams that we're working with, and please do get in touch. And if you have any questions too, you can always go to the Alumni Club and they can connect us as well. So thank you so much for joining, and we hope to follow up with you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Talita.